John Mahle, of course, who does the Stay in Your Lane podcast and is a senior executive, sales executive, is joining us this morning. Thrilled to have him. Righteous guy. He has got a piece of content that has gone really viral. It's got 14,000, probably going to hit 15,000, 16,000. Anybody who knows anything about the way the internets and the newfangled technology works, I wouldn't be surprised if John got himself to about 20, 25, 30,000 by the time this is all said and done. He has got a great piece of content, and what's interesting about it is while the topic is incendiary, the presentation of it is just the facts, ma'am. It is an absolute thrill to have him on the show. We may take him over into Tom Bray's segment a little bit before letting him shuffle off this radio and this online platform coil. John, good morning. How are you, my friend?
Very good, Jimmy. How are you, sir?
I'm having a morning, John, but a good one, by the way. We're kind of fired up over here. Lots of people beginning to pour into the chat. By the way, Joe J just told me online, he said, I got a $150 fine for late delivery around here. Joe, I will happily pay it since I am back on the air. How you doing, though, John? What's going on?
Well, to be honest, I'm hungry this morning after hearing the brisket mac and cheese.
Oh, my God. You got to hear it. Our friends on YouTube did not get to hear it. We're going to bring Brad back. But the brisket mac and cheese recipe, and I've seen the recipe in proper, is knock your lights out terrific. You're going to be at that party, by the way. You're going to be here with your wife on July 23rd, are you not?
Yes, sir, I am. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait to get you
Very
down there.
much.
We're going to get that bourbon tasting. All right, John, I want you to do yourself the honor of unpacking what it is you and Bob Costello, what you guys dug into. It is a terrific conversation, and it's worth kind of unpacking it here for our listeners as well. I've shared it on my Facebook, and we'll be sharing it on Facebook for Radio Nemo Online after the show today to give people another chance to kind of digest it again. Tell us what's going on.
Well, Bob Costello is chief economist for the ATA, but most people I don't think really realize he handles tariffs, cross-border, in his history there of more than 20 years. The man is, masterfully skilled and a great person, I'll add to that. But the enjoyable part of understanding this is, he's been through multiple administrations, right, in the past 20-plus years in his role. So not only does he have, visibility of what is to come, he has the benefit of the history and understanding what's been done previously. So I thought it was a valuable topic for Bob and I to discuss just because of the foundation and the value that he can bring to the audience. It's a touchy subject, but it's one that's worth really looking at. You've got drivers on both borders that he brought up that are running U.S. freight, which we know is illegal.
The magic word is cabotage. The magic word is cabotage.
Cabotage, correct.
Yeah. And
so what they've got actually proof that it's happening at a high level on the southern border. And his thought process was that it doesn't seem to be as bad on the northern border because the incentive isn't as balanced. But I think it's definitely, from what he shared, this administration and Sean Duffy, they're going after it. And normally when you hear that in previous administrations, you're going to say, okay, all right, well, they're going to be watching it, keeping an eye out. But he stated that they were looking to sink their teeth into it.
Yeah, it's the absolute truth. It's a really great piece of content, by the way. I wanted to really quickly bring up the fact that there are a couple of things here culturally that are at play, too, because we have a lot of callers on this show who are, in fact, Canadian drivers who will come into the U.S., drop off their load, and turn right back around and go back. I also think that the relationship, the overall kind of cultural relationship between Canada and the U.S. makes it a lot less problematic. It's also a much smaller country population-wise and has a much more stable economy, meaning that the Canadians don't need to bring our dollars back to their country in order to kind of function. I think part of what's happening down at the southern border, why there's a bigger problem, is you have people who are looking for a better living, and often will be willing to kind of work between the lines to pick up those extra loads where they shouldn't be doing it. One of the things that you and I talked about yesterday when we were setting up this segment is one of the things that is interesting about this is that a lot of people often don't take politicians at their word. You just kind of alluded to that idea of, yeah, you'll be looking at it closely. God bless you. These guys often, when they say things to people, they mean it. They do mean stuff literally. And there is a real push that is going to it's already started, but it could get really in depth that if anybody is playing games with who's hauling their freight, they might find themselves in a lot of trouble. Is that fair?
Oh, I think that's when you hear something from different people, it means different things, right? It's just the world we live in. Everybody says what they maybe say or feel, etc. But with this administration, the wheels are on the ground and they're moving. So, Bob alluded to the fact in the previous episode we did with Bob 2 weeks ago, the speed that the administration is moving is astronomical. He's handling tariffs, and with it changing by the day, it is. I think it has everyone on their heels, but they're moving forward, and he said he's never seen anything like it. So when you hear that this administration is actually focused on it, has proof that it's happening and that they're going after it, now all of a sudden, you would say, hey, it all kind of hinges on enforcement. Well, we've seen, when this administration says they're doing something, they are doing it.
Right.
They're moving forward. So this is going to get difficult. There's more to this. One of the comments on the podcast, the gentleman Fabian Buentello 5694 stated that Texas has a transportation code 522.043, and what that states is the English language proficiency rule is an interstate rule, but Texas has a transportation code there, the 522.043, that actually allows for non-English speaking drivers to operate in Texas. So now we say, hey, wait a minute. What does the enforcement look like today versus, we hear English language proficiency in interstate, commerce. Now when Texas itself has really a loophole there, how is that going to be enforced?
Well, you and I also, by the way, talked about this yesterday, because, John, I want to make this really clear. If you get a chance to listen to John's podcast, and you should listen to John's podcast, by the way, you're going to find the same measured tone that John is exercising now. He's exercising on that podcast. That's what's so explosive about the podcast, is that it's not this sort of screaming and shouting and carrying on. It's simply laying out the facts. And he made the comment, too, about Bob Costello, is that what Costello is doing is he's looking back over other administrations and seeing how they've handled this stuff, and based on those models, it looks like these guys mean business. The issue here is we also had a conversation about states' rights versus federal, the ability of the federal government to kind of exert this. In the wake of the proficiency, which, by the way, it's not a new law. I mean, all they have to do, you said the magic words, enforcement. So much of this doesn't require an act of Congress. It doesn't require any sort of change of policy on paper. It simply requires telling the people who are boots on the ground, many of whom, despite the fact being, state employees, are governed by federal policy. I think that's a real kind of point of friction here, because it puts a lot of the Texas fat cats, many of whom are Republicans and support this president, into a position where it's like, are you going to support your local donors and work with them on the Spanish proficiency situation, or are you going to follow the mandates from the FMCSA? This could be really friction driven in the next couple of months. Is that a fair assessment, John?
Oh, I think it will. I would probably be laxed in the discussion about it if it were a different administration. But from what we're seeing, they're moving forward, and they're moving forward intelligently. So next week, Jimmy, you and I are going to sit down and talk about this at a deeper level because we have much more to discuss. But I think focusing today on how does this work from a federal level, at a state level, from a safety level? You know that this administration has said they're going to put American drivers first and Americans first. And that seems to be the motive for the administration.
Yeah, and
with the documented proof of what's going on that they have, it's actually, at a point where it may cause capacity issues.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is the fact that that wouldn't be a bad thing if, in fact, what is going down on the border in Texas and all across the southern border is, in fact, as widespread as they think it is. This could actually begin to kind of change the capacity situation and the capacity problem. How much, we don't know. We'll find out in the aftermath. The big thing that I'm interested in too, John, and worth talking about when you and I get together and talk next week. And by the way, guys, that's the @Stay in Your Lane podcast, 7751 on YouTube. @Stay in Your Lane podcast, 7751 on the tube of you. John joins us this morning. He is the host of that podcast, and we're so thrilled to have him on. But the other thing is, too, at some point there will be midterm elections. And at some point, that is probably when this will get figured out in regards to what I call pure policy, in the sense that at some point it has to be codified. Are you following me? Is that the enforcement is important. I'm glad they're enforcing it, but people are going to be sort of asking for clarification and clarity, as opposed to boots on the ground, push in, start doing something, and then wait to ask for forgiveness. That seems to be a lot of the way they operate too, is that they do things and then wait for either the courts or Congress, which seems unwilling to do anything, to step in and then say, okay, so what does this look like when it's actually codified? And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean it just seems to be the policy is go grab them and get them. Is that fair?
Well, absolutely. When I started at Triple T in this industry in 1994, late 94, the fine for a truck being on our roads in the United States without insurance was $10,000 per day per vehicle. Which seems like, okay, if you got 5 trucks and your insurance lapses, that's $50,000 a day. There was zero enforcement of that. Right? Who's there to enforce that?
Right.
Okay, so you're going back 30 years, and there's no enforcement of it. I said, why does this law even exist? I've never seen or heard of any enforcement. Well, it depends on what the administration is focusing on. So understanding the arrangement. And Mr. Duffy's take from transportation, you're looking at border security on both sides, the north border and the south border. We've had a fentanyl crisis. We have drugs coming in back and forth that they're trying to shut down. You have public safety of our roads. So all of this kind of ties into the motive here of going after this. And I'll be honest, I would pay attention to what Mr. Costello says when he says that they're going to sink their teeth into it.
Oh, yeah.
And he makes a point to bring it up on our show to let everyone know that watches our podcast, this is coming. It's not, there was no hesitation on enforcement, which most of the time is the way we would look at something. Well, let's see how are they going to enforce that? With this administration, I think you can count on enforcement. And to your point, they're going to break some eggs to make this omelet.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're going to, like I said, and the thing is, too, is that they've still got a year and a half to go before they're going to get pushback, if they get pushback at all, in regards to anybody, because literally Right now, the Congress of the United States pretty much says whatever you want, with the exception of a few outliers on both sides of the equation. John, there's so much more to talk about. Like I said, I want people to head over to Stay in Your Lane podcast 7751. I'm going to say it again. Stay in Your Lane podcast 7751. Guys, this is really informative stuff too, by the way. We here at Radio Nemo don't think that there's a small pie of which we're all fighting for pieces. We think there's a lot of pie to share in regards to information. We want you checking out stuff like this. Head on over there. I'm going to be heading over to John's neck of the woods with Jamie Jones next week to keep this conversation going. John, I can't thank you enough for making time for us this morning. I really appreciate you. We're going to get the word out, as we all say, added value, my brother, added value, and I'll see you on the 23rd. Actually, I'll see you on screen next week, sir.
Very good. Thanks for having me.
John Mahle, of course, with Triple Transport. He's the man with the plan. Thank you so much. And he's got the Stay in Your Lane podcast 7751 on the tube of you. We'll be right back on the other side.